Hello, dog fans, and welcome to DawgDial. I am your host, Josh Mendlinger, with my partner in broadcast, Joel Taco Thompson. How you doing today, Taco?
I'm doing good.
Excellent. Welcome, dog fans. Welcome, Dog Nation, on this 12th edition of DawgDial for the 2017 broadcast season, 2017 University of Georgia football season, we should say, and it's the end of the regular season, and we are now into bonus football. We are now into free football. We are now into, I guess you could say, the postseason. Postseason is what
Turkey Day. How was your Turkey Day?
Very good. Excellent.
Good
Yeah, not bad. Saw some family and good turkey weekend for the dogs. Absolutely, going up against their in-state rival, Georgia Tech. We will talk about that, about a little game recap about that excellent win of 38-7 over the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, and the Rambling Wreck had no rambling chance, basically. They rambled, but basically, we are here to talk about your now number 6, or back up to number 6 in the AP poll, Georgia Bulldog football team, and we're going to talk about the rematch for the crown of the SEC championship coming up against the Auburn Tigers, not the Alabama Crimson Tide. So, Taco, it is going to be quite an affair on the 2nd of December.
Set up. This was the game the Georgia fans were looking for on the weekend, the Iron Bowl. Obviously, big implications. Georgia, though, needed a good win at Georgia Tech. They accomplished that. We'll get into in depth about the Auburn, Alabama, and the SEC championship later in the show.
Sounds great. Well, we're going to take a quick break here on DawgDial. We'll be right back to go talk about the game recap about that nice win by the Georgia Bulldogs, avenging their 2016 loss to the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. So we'll be right back. Stick with us on DawgDial. Go Dogs. All right, welcome back on DawgDial. We are here broadcasting live from the Woodstock Buffaloes Cafe. Here joining us, we are the great hostesses and the servers here and the management. We'd like to thank them for hosting us this season for DawgDial, and we are broadcasting on a network of radio stations and on Facebook Live. Hopefully you're on Facebook Live watching us from Buffaloes Cafe here in Woodstock. Taco, we are excited. Everyone is excited. Dog Nation is excited. Hopefully you're excited for this final stretch. Hopefully it'll be more than one game going into the off-season or the postseason for football.
That would be a positive.
That would be great. So let's talk about it, Taco. Let's first get into this Georgia Tech rematch. They avenged their loss from last year. That was 28-17 to Georgia Tech, coming back this year strong, 38-7 win, a dominant fashion, a dominant team going up against a lesser team, obviously, but certainly not a cupcake team by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, Georgia Tech struggled a little bit this year, and but you never want to overlook your in-state rival. Anything can happen. Georgia Tech runs that triple option offense, and obviously something different to prepare for. So, but I think Georgia in this defense was well prepared and offensively played fairly flawless on their execution. Again, an established running game, not a million yards rushing, but 247 rushing yards against Georgia Tech and 224 through the air. So Georgia put up 471 yards on Tech and put up 38 points.
And it was a balanced. I mean, that's the best thing I think you could express from that. And many of the write-ups and all the media are saying that it was a very balanced attack for Georgia, which is good to see coming out of that Auburn game, where the Auburn game they or actually the Kentucky game, but the Auburn game, a ways back, it was not balanced. There was nothing going on. Last week it was a lot of running and not so much passing. But this week it was a good balance of both rushing and passing, and successfully being able to get to the point where you actually bring in some backups and have a visit from Mr. Eason at the end, too.
Do get a chance. And, we Georgia threw it 17 times and actually rushed it 43. Yardage-wise, it was very well balanced. But remember that one long, beautiful throw from to Crumpton there in the fourth quarter to
sure
seal it. But yeah, you had Sony Michel had an outstanding game, carried the ball 13 times for 85 yards. The one on down towards the end zone, he really left a few of those Georgia Tech guys in the dust.
Yes.
That sweep around the end. So the guy really has some moves. Michel had 1 TD. Chubb had 1. And he was 12 carries for 53 yards. Swift 4 carries for 37 yards and a TD. So it was spread out a good bit. Like say the passing. Wims had another great game.
He certainly did.
In passing,
he looked great, didn't he?
He did. He's becoming the number 1 receiver. 5 catches, 77 yards, and it looks like he's the go-to receiver for Fromm. Maybe that tandem is going to show up for the Dogs next week.
Even the tight end got a target, got the pass, didn't do necessarily the best thing he could have with it towards the end of that half there, and he certainly got a mouthful from Coach Kirby Smart. But when Nada got the ball, get out of bounds, yes. But he did get the ball, and he did get it thrown to him. So that's a plus, I guess. When you're sharing it amongst people, that definitely keeps the upcoming opponent on their toes, having to think, not just reload and go with the same game plan. They do have to think coming into this next game.
There was the play calling, a good little balance here. I mean, I saw some passing on the first down. Obviously, Georgia running it. That's where they wanted to establish it. And the running backs, especially Chubb and Michel, you could just tell the offensive line was clearing some of those blocks from some of those smaller defenders against Georgia Tech. But Michel and Chubb were just running through arm tackles, and I got to say that just the power running from both of those guys and the balance continues to impress me. So overall, Georgia looked like the most potent team on the field. It really wasn't close.
No, not at all. I would agree with you on that. The defense held them to 188 yards of rushing, 226 total offense for Georgia Tech. So the defense did its job. They limited the first downs for Georgia Tech. So the defense did what they needed to do to get off the field, obviously, to stop Georgia Tech. And the offense did what it needed to do by holding on to the ball. Time of possession was good, and not turning over the ball. So, therefore, the defense was able to rest when needed and be strong when they came back out on the field.
Yeah, no turnovers, no penalties. Special teams was effective, but you mentioned the defense, and that's where you got to give credit. Roquan Smith was go left, go right, and you saw what Georgia Tech was trying to do with the triple option. They were trying to get it wide and outside. Mm-hmm. So the successful component of the Georgia defense is the linebacker speed, preventing them from getting outside. I even saw a stack defense where Patrick was lined up in front, almost like in an I formation. Mm-hmm. I'd never seen that before.
On defense,
where
spying
Smith was both spying.
Right.
So you get a tendency once that option's going one way, it's headed that way. So the Tech offense just could not get to the edge. So Georgia's defense was very effective. As you mentioned, Georgia Tech comes in averaging 319 rushing yards a game, and on Saturday, they had 188 yards.
Yeah,
so
rushing. That's
to put it on and Georgia, remember, coming into the game was the fourth in the nation in total defense. So you would have expected it. Tech did not have the opportunity to throw the ball. In fact, they were very ineffective in trying to throw it. So you put Tech and the triple option in the third and long situations. It's going to be very difficult and a long day for Tech.
They are not built for the long possession and to get those third downs. And only having 12 first downs the entire game is, like you said, the defense did its job. And what was nice is that, this was an in-state rival game, and anything could happen. Tech had nothing to lose whatsoever other than the only thing they did get to lose is playing in a bowl game. They're not eligible for a bowl game now. So that is, I feel you got to feel bad for, the seniors for Tech. Unless something, I guess, comes up. I'm not really sure if there's any kind of consolation game that they could get in for the season. But the bottom line is Georgia did not stoop down to their level, so to speak. They played up. They kept the intensity up. They kept their level of play up. And that's good to see going into the end of the season.
And especially coming off a loss. So you come off
2 weeks,
of a loss, and you rebound, you get your legs back under you.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, Georgia came out injury-free. I think Trenton Thompson came out with an injury, a right knee injury, but I think for the most part, Georgia came out healthy. That's what you wanted to do here. And have a statement game against your rival. And it's always good. These seniors are always going to remember going out beating Georgia Tech as their in-state rival, so it's always important to do. And you finish your season 11-1. How often does that happen?
Not very. It's been a while.
For the Georgia Bulldogs.
And I guess the also good thing is that they're coming right back to Atlanta next week, and you have a good feeling coming back into Atlanta. Had they laid an egg and not done well against Tech and lost that game, they had to go back up to Athens during the week and take the bus back down. Unless they're staying here, which they might be, but come right back down to the Benz Stadium for the SEC title game, and they certainly have a positive feeling in the mouth rather than a bad taste. So we'll get into that in a little bit. Let's take a quick break here, Taco, and we'll be right back on DawgDial. So stick with us, folks. We'll be right back. Go Dogs. All right, welcome back to DawgDial. I'm your host, Josh Mendlinger, with my partner, Taco Thompson. Taco, we can be reached on Twitter at DawgDial. Also on Facebook. If you're watching us on Facebook Live, feel free to comment in on the comment section. We'll be more than happy to share your information, your comments, your thoughts about this past week's game and the upcoming SEC game. We are broadcasting live from Buffalo's Cafe in Woodstock, Georgia, and our flagship radio station is Real Country Q 92.3 WMOQ FM in Athens, Monroe. You could also reach us on podcasts of today's show and any of our other over 250 episodes of DawgDial. Simply go to iTunes and search for DawgDial in the podcast section. Taco, let's before we get on to the next game, the big game, the title game, let's go around the SEC and let's chat. Give us some statistics on what happened here in the SEC this past week, because there were some big changes, because of some of the losses, some coaching changes, but also let's hear some scores.
There's some big potential games. Obviously, the Iron Bowl was the one everyone was watching now, Georgia, and the fans can look forward to seeing a rematch from Auburn, and we're going to get into that Auburn-Alabama game, but Auburn really looked really good against Alabama. I think Alabama, even some of their fans were a little surprised about how aggressively Auburn came out and played in that game. The other implication game was in the college football playoff rankings was Clemson versus South Carolina. You had a feeling that the South Carolina Gamecocks might come out and rival Clemson, but Clemson took care of business 34-10.
They certainly did
in that game. So Clemson again, and what that's going to do for Clemson is it's going to move Clemson up into the number one spot very likely into the polls.
On Tuesday night, right?
For the Tuesday night, for the official. So they'll have a lock, and we're going to get into some detail about that. But, the other games, the other rivalry, Florida State took down Florida 38-22. There are a lot of points being scored in these rivalry games. Louisville over Kentucky. Vanderbilt beat Tennessee. Tennessee finishes over. They're the only team in the SEC that finishes over in the SEC this year.
Which does obviously does not look good for Tennessee. It means obviously their coaches are gone, and there's going to be a big shakeup over there.
Well, here you go. I mean, you go down through this list, and the implications. There's an opening at Tennessee. There's an opening there at Florida that lost this weekend. Here's another one. Missouri took down Arkansas 48-45, so you have a coaching vacancy now at Arkansas, and I don't know if you saw that after the game where the coach was basically let go on the field right after the game.
Yeah, that's I'm not sure that's done very well. I'm not sure that bodes well for who you're bringing in. I'm not sure if that helps the athletic department, because I tell you, if I'm the next coach, I'm not sure I'd ever want to have that happen to me.
It's a tough one. LSU took down Texas A&M, so what we hear is the Texas A&M job is now open. And then Ole Miss, I think it was a Thursday night game. Ole Miss took down Mississippi State and Dan Mullen's Bulldogs there. So, but, the real game there is the Alabama-Auburn game, and just Alabama looked like they were bewildered against the War Eagles.
Yeah,
in Jordan-Hare.
Right.
Which
the Bulldogs know it's a tough place to play.
Tough place to play. In Auburn, they have the two losses early in the season. You can remember against LSU, and they lost against Clemson. So two strong teams. They've got a quarterback now in Stidham. And what you're seeing with Auburn is coming on strong as the year goes by. So a two-loss team on Auburn is ranked one ahead of Georgia now. That really won't matter because the winner of the SEC game, December the 2nd, this weekend, is going to determine a playoff spot. But Auburn, Stidham, and Kerryon Johnson, the running back from Auburn, really ran it effectively against Alabama. In fact, they had a total of 408 yards against Alabama in that game, 240 passing, 168 rushing. Stidham was extremely effective passing the ball, and also used his legs in that game against Alabama. So Dog fans should probably, the rematch, you're going to see the best team. In my opinion, Auburn was the best team between the two on Saturday night.
On Saturday, absolutely. And I hate to say it this way, but luckily or quite possibly, that running back may be injured. He banged up at least. Chances are he'll be on the field against Georgia, but that multidimensional player, again, passing for a touchdown, running for a touchdown, running all over the place.
Jump pass.
Yeah, exactly. Which
the announcer called that.
He certainly did. He saw it from a mile away, didn't he?
Right on.
And good for them. Did their studies, but that may be a good thing. However, the legs of Stidham are pretty strong. He is showing that he's a very good SEC quarterback.
I mean, he's a journeyman. I looked at his background. He hails from Texas.
Right.
Originally signed with Baylor. Or he originally committed to Texas Tech, then went to Baylor, and
shakeups get him moving around.
Then the happenings there with that whole Baylor shakeup, and then he went to a community college and it didn't play ball, but ended up at Auburn. And so now, Gus Malzahn, you talk about coaching changes. The seat was fairly warm for him at the beginning of the season, and now he's beaten the two top teams in the country with his team.
Right.
He's got to be feeling really good, with the exception, though, as you mentioned, the injury to Kerryon Johnson. To me, looked fairly serious in that game and was holding his shoulder. When you have a shoulder and you're running back,
a bad
hard
thing
to recover from.
That
but that's also an issue. He runs the ball 30, 32 times a game, so when you're that kind of workhorse running against an SEC, injuries are more prone to happen. So we'll see what happens with the Auburn backfield. But Stidham is certainly a quarterback, and we'll get into keys to victory, things we look at Auburn. But I do think Stidham showed that he can carry the game and
manage a game very well.
Manage a game very well through very sharp passes, evaded the rush, and was converted on third downs when he had to.
Well, let's bring that back. Speaking of managing a game, I think our Bulldogs managed the game very well. The coaches called a very good game against Georgia Tech. I think if we want to go into our typical, we usually grade them out. So our offense, I'd have to say, give them an A grade for the offense.
Yeah, I think down the line for this past game against a lesser opponent at Georgia Tech, you would have to give A grades all the way through.
Sure.
I think offense, defense, special teams, and coaching. I think they had the right game plan. Saw again a little bit more diversity in the play calling, but I can tell you that in the SEC game, Jim Chaney's going to earn his money. Earn his paycheck in the SEC game, because Auburn and Tucker, our defensive coordinator, also made some good adjustments. Tech did have a drive there that had a sustained drive with a couple yards over 20 yards, and there was one blown coverage on Georgia. So there's one thing to fix there. It was a crossing route,
right?
And it was wide open, so it was
in the red zone. You can't let that happen,
that's
what happened.
So,
and he was forget wide open. There was nobody in the entire TV viewing screen that could ever get
right in the bread basket.
Yeah, the only person that was going to stop him was a photographer in a corner if he threw his camera at him. So that he was wide open. So I'm sure that will get reviewed and that will be attended to this week.
And the defensive backfield and the linebacking and the scheme, we'll talk about this more in depth about Auburn, but the defensive scheme is going to have to be right on with Auburn's offense, because not only does Auburn have a strong defense, they have a fairly potent offense to go along with that. So, again, these are going to be two evenly matched teams that face off in Atlanta, 4 p.m. kickoff, by the way.
4 p.m.
And so, Georgia coming off its win. Auburn is going to be coming off of its win against Bama. That's also can be a psychological thing of, that's a big win. Do you have a letdown after that? Do you have some injuries that you may not be able to recover for? Is Georgia ready to take on the Auburn and make a statement after that 40-17 loss in the previous matchup?
Well, this will be a good matchup, and it'll come down to some two fairly greenhorn type quarterbacks coming into a big showcase, into a big, heavily media attention circus, you could almost call it, what it's going to be. And we're going to have to see, and we'll talk about that in a few moments if we take a quick break here, as to which of our quarterbacks, these young quarterbacks, will, from either side, Georgia or Auburn, will be able to survive the week, the attention, and the build-up, and the anxiety. So let's take a quick break, and we'll get into that a little bit more on that head-to-head matchup between the quarterbacks when we come back on DawgDial. Stick with us, folks. Okay, welcome back to DawgDial. Dog Nation, we are talking now about the SEC Championship, going for the crown in Atlanta, Georgia, at the new enclosed dome-like stadium, but not quite a dome. It is the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and right next to the
imploded,
yeah, what is now a pile of rubble next to the Benz is the Georgia Dome. And for those of you who did not get to see that, it was quite a vision on Monday morning.
YouTube.
You can catch it on anything at YouTube. Everybody's got it covered. It's a shame to see that go after only 25 years. It's hard to believe that a building that has had so many good things happen in it is gone. But the Georgia Bulldogs have to look forward to going into the Mercedes-Benz Dome and having a big matchup against the SEC West title holders, the Auburn Tigers. Or is it War Eagles? I'm not sure. I always get mixed up.
The War Eagle looks pretty cool, though.
That was pretty good.
The War Eagle, but he landed he didn't land correctly.
No, he was supposed to land at the 50, and he landed in the corner of the end zone. So the question is, was that on purpose? Was it not? I don't think it was on purpose because he's supposed to land at his trainer's arm, but there must have been something pretty tasty smelling, I guess, or something in the corner there.
He was off, but Auburn was not.
Right. So. Well, maybe that was a foreshadow by the to get into the end zone is what that War Eagle was telling the Auburn Tigers is don't end up on the 50 going pity-pat back and forth, end up in the end zone. Let's hope that War Eagle, when it comes and circles around in the SEC championship game.
Are they allowed? Are War Eagles allowed in the Mercedes-Benz
I would have
stadium?
to think so, although maybe the Falcon might come down and there might be a fight in
there
it.
Might be a little
if they don't release them at the same time, right? You never know what's going to happen then. But let's get into that SEC championship matchup. It is going to be an exciting one, Taco. It is going to be quarterback true freshman quarterback versus I don't even know what are we calling Stedham from Auburn? Is he redshirt? Is he second sophomore?
Redshirt freshman.
Like you said, he's been a journeyman, but he's been around. But he is new. He's new to the SEC conference. He is new to this. I guess build-up of what this is going to be, and on top of that, all that is.
And he wasn't the starter coming out of the spring.
That's true.
He was competing for the job, much like Georgia. Of course, Georgia had the injury happen to Eason. And so here you have two teams with unknown quarterbacks.
Right.
Well, guess what? Now they're both on perhaps the largest stage in SEC championship. This is the first time that these two teams have met in the SEC championship since it was started. The East-West was started in 1992. So it's kind of a good thing. I don't know how you feel about it, but kind of a good thing to not see Alabama.
I think so.
On that West,
I
West
agree.
bracket.
It's a rematch. We know that. Obviously, it seems to have been a fluke what happened 2 weeks ago, or now 3 weeks ago, in Auburn for the Bulldogs. Just were off that day, and I think they will certainly bounce back and respond and have a much better showing. But I am glad that it's not Alabama. There's just something about when you get the Alabama Crimson Tide into a championship game that it's hard to bet against them. It really is. Even no matter who the opponent is, Alabama's always there.
Tough. Well, Auburn showed that they were tougher, and so the ebbs and flows, and the sky is not falling at the Alabama Crimson Tide. But I think they probably, in our last segment, we're going to talk about the playoffs and the implications and whatnot. But let's look at Auburn. Auburn came out and beat Georgia 40-17. Auburn ran the ball for 247 yards against Georgia, and one of the most potent elements of that game was that the Auburn defensive line held Georgia to a 46 yards rushing in that game. So we talk about the quarterbacks, but again, Georgia is predominantly going to have a running team. This may be the game where Fromm does have to step up. This may be the game where play calling, more play action pass, There may be, just flat-out execution. I know and recall in the game at Auburn that there were some penalties, there were some, some turnovers that maybe impacted that game. But I would still say that the Georgia fan knows that the Dogs got their butts whipped. So can these Bulldogs in this environment, this SEC title, can Coach Smart and the coaching staff and the senior leadership get these kids ready to play for the SEC title? Because this is kind of it's not an all or nothing, but Georgia has it in their right if they want to play for a national championship and be in the college football playoff. You win this game, or you're playing a New Year Day 6 game.
Yes,
you're playing in a New Year's 6 bowl.
Right, and unfortunately, when you get to it, all the excitement and what was so great about college football and New Year's Day and all the different bowl games and just was so exciting. As much as I do like the playoff scenario and the championship battles that it has brought, it has made the other bowl games basically insignificant and just a runner-up. Here's your trophy type of mentality. Everyone gets a trophy type of situation.
It's kind of the top 4 teams, and then the New Year's 6, and what they're calling it now is what it is, and then kind of everybody else. So. But
participation games, I guess it's almost
participation trophy. But here's what Auburn has done against the two number 1 teams. I just want to run through.
What have they racked up,
the
Taco?
Stats against UGA? A total of 488 yards, a total offense versus Bama 408. Passed for 251 against Georgia. Passed for 240 against Alabama, rushed for 237 against Georgia, rushed for 168 against Bama. They were efficient passing, 17 of 25 Stidham was against Georgia, and even better, he was 22 of 29 against Alabama. So, average per play, Auburn has averaged 6.9 yards a play against Georgia and 5.2 against Alabama. So Auburn looks great on defense, but all of a sudden what you're seeing is the emergence of a fantastic-looking Auburn defense. So both offensively and defensively, Georgia's going to have to come out with a very good game plan and be ready for these Auburn Tigers coming into Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That
is absolutely true, and the defense is going to have to be stout. They're going to have to hold that, what is an absolutely surging Auburn offense and quarterback, as we keep getting to talking about him. They're going to have to shut him down, and Roquan Smith did a great job against Kentucky, great job against the triple option of Georgia Tech. Now he's going to have to stay home and and show up as he has all season, except for that Auburn game. It was tough. Yeah. He may have been the only one making some good plays on the field.
Well, every defensive player on Georgia is going to have to strap it on and strap it on tight for this game. There's going to have to be a lot of speed. There's going to have to be very few mistakes. They're going to have to be in position. Depending on if Kerryon Johnson, I know they have a couple other running backs. Auburn is going to be, have depth at the running back position. They may have to platoon. If Kerryon Johnson cannot carry it 32 times, which I don't expect that he will be able to based on what I saw there. But, that Auburn offensive line is obviously opening some holes. They've got some shifty running backs. Aside from Kerryon Johnson. So I would think Auburn, and Auburn does a great job with their play calling. They have a big playbook, and they will throw it at you. So Georgia's got to be ready for that on defense, be prepared for anything that comes out. When you see a wildcat jump pass in the game that's wide open, there's a lot in that playbook. So I wouldn't doubt that Auburn comes to Atlanta with the biggest playbook that they've brought out all year.
I would agree with you on that. And not only do they have to go up against the playbook of Auburn and the players of Auburn that are doing very well, they have to go up against a little bit of history. And as I've been checking into this mystery, there has not been a SEC East winner of the SEC championship since 2008. How about that?
Wow.
Okay. That's been a long time since an SEC East team has won.
We need to try to change that.
Yeah, so. Hopefully, they can break this what has become a stymied East in the championship game. So,
well, the East is down. Georgia's at the top of that. If you look at the East, obviously the West has got even LSU came up in the West 9-3. Alabama's a one-loss team.
They did come back. LSU did.
Auburn's 10-2, but now they're playing for the SEC championship. It's weird how this happens. Even in the East, South Carolina ended up 8-4. Kentucky, Missouri at 7-5. The down teams, Florida, Vandy, and Tennessee. So you got 9 teams that are bowl eligible from the SEC. But the real one is the SEC championship, Auburn, Georgia.
Yes,
Saturday.
that's going to be a good one. Let's take a quick break here, Taco, and we'll come right back on DawgDial, and we will get into some other topics. Let's we'll cover a few things about some recruits that are coming in for next year, things we have to look forward to on the Dog Nation or in the Dog Nation. We'll be right back on DawgDial. Stick with us. Go Dogs. Welcome back to DawgDial. We are live, we are recording live from the Buffalo's Cafe in Woodstock, Georgia. Thank you to the Buffalo's Cafe folks here. They are always great and hospitable. We appreciate them letting us broadcast here with all their folks that are joining us today here. I think I'm going to have to go with some wings we're going to go with afterwards. I think I'm not sure. You're going hot wings or lemon pepper?
We're going to the SEC championship. Let's
yeah.
go hot.
Go hot. Okay,
let's
that's
go hot and spicy.
Hot and spicy. That's true. Let's kick it up a notch, right? A little sounds good. I think I'll do that too once we get wrapped up here. Folks, come on down to Buffalo's sometime this week and check it out. Taco, speaking of comparison of wings, let's compare couple other numbers before we get into our discussion about anything else Dog Nation has to cover as far as recruits and some injury reports and things like that. So what other tidbits and nuggets do you have for us?
These are nuggets. These are just statistical nuggets. So now that you've played an entire season, you've seen the eye test on the field, and now just compare and erase that and bring it back to Atlanta, and let's just talk about how evenly these two teams are matched. Georgia is ranked 36th in total offense. These are national statistics.
Yes.
They're ranked 36 in total offense at 434 yards a game. Auburn ranked 18 in total offense at 470 yards per game. I bet that stat is one that sneaks up on you, because you think, oh, wow, that Auburn, after 2 losses and
I think that snuck up on the Crimson Tide. What do you think about that?
Very much snuck up on those boys. Rushing, Georgia, of course, is 9th in rushing, so that's where they earn their stripes. Auburn is 20th in rushing at 237 yards a game. Passing, Georgia is 110th and 169 yards a game, 9th in pass efficiency rating at 159, and Auburn is 64th in passing offense at 232 yards a game, and ranked 7th in pass efficiency at 162. So if you look at the offensive side, Georgia scores 35.5 points a game. Auburn scores 36.7 points per game. So
yeah.
you're putting two really, really competitive teams from the SEC on the field together, and offensively, as we said, the two quarterbacks coming on to the national stage. I think one of the keys to the game is going to be the quarterback play. I think the key to that is protection of the quarterbacks. I would expect that these quarterbacks will have to throw. Georgia's been throwing it not as much as Auburn has, but I do think that the protection on those quarterbacks and giving them time to throw, and also the legs of these quarterbacks, they're going to have to be mobile. These defenses, both defenses are fast. They're going to get after the quarterback. They're going to rush, they're going to blitz, and so these quarterbacks are going to have to make a couple of plays with their legs. So it's all going to come down to that and avoiding turnovers when they do have to throw. Both of these quarterbacks are efficient, so they've done well.
Yes. And staying focused on special teams. We can't. The Georgia Bulldogs cannot allow Auburn to sneak by on a punt return or a kickoff return and to put some points on the board. If you do that, they'll be in a hole, and that would certainly not bode well against that what is a strong Auburn defense.
Well, I think Georgia has the advantage on kick returns with Hardman. I like him having the ball and returning kicks. I mean, just one of these days, and hopefully it's in the SEC championship, he breaks one. But on the flip side of that, Auburn has the advantage on the kicker. Their field goal kicker is ice cold. I mean, he is a fantastic kicker. Not that Blankenship is not, but the Auburn kicker can kick them deep. He can kick them long. And field goal wise, if this game comes down to a field goal, that may be one of the implications. So special teams is very important in this
especially
game.
in a dome. This is not outside. It's not between the hedges. It is not in the Auburn Stadium on the plains. This is indoor, so the ball will go that much further. There's no wind to worry about for these kickers, and so it's just going to be a clean kick off the turf, so to speak, from when they get it spotted for field goals. So that could be key in this game.
It's going to be important as well. Equally as well as important is the defense. And so Auburn's defense in the previous game dominated, but let's look at the national rankings again. Georgia is number 4 in total defense, giving up only 271 yards a game. Auburn is 11th in total defense, 303 yards a game. That came down against Alabama this weekend. The rushing defense, Georgia's ranked 12th, giving up only 112 yards a game. Auburn gives up 125 yards a game. Now, that did not happen in the game that Georgia had, so there's going to have to be some offensive line adjustments in the SEC championship. Passing defense, Georgia is ranked number 3. Auburn is ranked number 4, giving up 177 yards a game. That may be a place where Jim Chaney takes a look into that crystal ball and says, well, I see some weaknesses in that Auburn secondary, or can exploit some things. So pass efficiency defense, stay with statistics, Georgia is 10, Auburn is 12. On the whole, going back to it, you go back to how many points do you score against and how many do you give up. Georgia's scoring defense gives up 13.8 a game. Auburn gives up 16.4 points per game. So about as evenly matched as you can get it.
Yes.
And this is going to be a fantastic battle for the Bulldogs, a big test for the Bulldogs, Coach Smart and his crew to work hard and come up with an excellent game plan. Be prepared. I think in-game adjustments are going to be huge. in this game.
Of course, in the SEC, that can be everything. With any battle in the SEC, time of possession will be key. You're gonna have the Georgia offense is going to have to convert on whether it's third down, second downs, and keep their defense off the field so that they can stay fresh. It's going to come down to a couple of key plays that you can absolutely turn the tides, turn the momentum. As cliche as that is to say, momentum is everything in an SEC game.
Field position, all the little things, time of possession, sacks, turnovers, penalties, special teams play, drop passes, missed assignments, blown coverages, missed tackles.
Right.
Go through the litany of lists. Georgia is going to have to play an excellent game for 60 minutes in order to come out of the Mercedes-Benz
they could use a
Stadium.
few bounces their way too would help every so often. We saw that play that Alabama with that towards the end of the couple of fumbles they had, but then they lucked out by getting a 12-man penalty on Auburn on the field.
That was not Alabama-esque there.
No,
that did not look like
or
Alabama.
for Auburn.
They looked flustered there.
Yes, I doubt there'll be a 12-man issue this week for Auburn. I bet you that they'll have that taken care of as well. So they'll be prepared to come up against the Georgia Bulldogs.
But I think the Georgia Bulldogs are going to come out. They're going to have a crystal clear memory of that loss at Jordan-Hare. It's a totally different environment, as you mentioned. It's playing at home in front of that hostile crowd. I think that is a big advantage. If you look at the Vegas line odds right now, after we talk about how even these teams are matched, Vegas has Auburn at the early line, a 1.5-point favorite. So it's basically a pick 'em game.
It is. But luckily it is in the state of Georgia, even though it's not a home game. And we'll get into that. The Georgia Bulldogs will be officially the road team or the visiting team in their Georgia white uniform. So we'll come back and kind of wrap up in our last segment, wrap up what we think is going to be the outcome of this game. We'll do our picks. We'll talk about who we think is going to be the key assessments. And if we have time to squeeze in, we'll talk about some of the recruits that we keep mentioning. There were some key issues this week with some Georgia recruits. But we'll be right back on DawgDial. Stick with us, folks. Go Dogs. Welcome back to DawgDial. I'm your host, Josh Mendlinger, with Taco Thompson, my partner here. We are at Buffalo's Cafe in Woodstock, Georgia. And Taco, as far as those conference championships, Auburn and Alabama Auburn gave up.
Easy for you to say.
Easy for me to say. Alabama gave it up to Auburn, and the Bulldogs will face Auburn. Now, what else is going on around the country that may affect the possible playoff
Well,
scenarios?
The interesting thing here, and Tuesday night, this committee starts to have their challenges, but obviously if you're looking at the top 4 playoff spots, and that's what everybody's shooting for, what you've got in the SEC is obviously Georgia, Auburn. The winner of that game will be in the top 4. The loser will be out of that top 4. I don't see a scenario where either Georgia or Auburn can lose and still be in the college football playoffs. You go to the Big Ten, and you've got Ohio State, which is a 2-loss team, playing against undefeated Wisconsin. Ohio State just so happens to be a 6.5-point favorite there.
They are, aren't they?
So if
they somehow seem to squeak in all the time. I don't know how they do it, but they are the luckiest team, it seems.
People like Ohio State and Alabama. Then you go to Oklahoma, TCU. The line is not there yet, but Oklahoma's probably going to be the number 2 team, and should have, per my little chart here at 538, a cool little website gives you a play the scenarios out. I have Oklahoma beating TCU, so if Oklahoma knocks off TCU in the Big 12 championship game, then that's going to put them there. So as a given, you've got the SEC championship winner, you've got the Big 12 championship winner, and go to the ACC where you've got Clemson versus Miami. This is Clemson's the heavier favorite. They're favored by 8 over Miami after that latest loss by Miami, and looking at the eye test of how good Clemson looks and the schedule that they face this year, I would have to put Clemson there and being their ranked number one. So what does that leave you? It leaves a Georgia fans need to cheer and be going for the win, and you're in. Certainly. And then the bubble spot, the interesting thing about the bubble spot is depending on what happens at that Big Ten championship, or even possibly if TCU were to upset Oklahoma, then you've got the eyeballs on Alabama and Ohio State, so that might be able to squeak into that top 4. So there's a lot of moving parts here.
There certainly is, and I guess that's why it's such a great time of year. With all this excitement, it almost rivals anything else in sports.
Yeah, and if you look at it, there's not a bad scenario where if you had Clemson, Oklahoma, let's say it's Auburn or Georgia, and then the 4th team, whether it be Ohio State or Alabama is still a one-loss team. Wisconsin, their strength of schedule is not that great, so if they go in 12-0. If they win, they are in. So Wisconsin does control their destiny. So you wipe the slate clean if Wisconsin wins the Big Ten. So
it's quite a dizzying array of scenarios, I must say.
It gives you a lot to think about.
Would you want to be in that committee room on Tuesday?
I'm not sure what's the pay.
It's voluntary. It's purely voluntary. I think they get some shrimp and some special sandwiches, finger sandwiches or something. I'm not sure what they get, but it's going to be interesting.
There's a lot on the line. So they're the undefeateds. You saw Miami this week obviously fell. So that was painful for the U. The only other team down, that's hidden down here is University of Central Florida, but they're not in a Power 5. So
right, I can't see the committee even
giving them serious thought. Although they played a great game against USF, and their coach is being looked at.
Their coach is gone. I'll tell you that much. He's going to be at one of the openings by next year.
Interesting to see them move up there. But I look at it and look, if the playoffs, the top 4 teams, and Georgia has to beat Auburn to get there, but the consolation prize is the New Year's Six. So the other bowls, the other major bowls that you've got,
and it might put Georgia right back into
Atlanta,
the Chick-fil-A Bowl.
More than likely, the course of action there would be Georgia would be coming back to Atlanta and play a team like UCF, which is 11-0.
Which is a great bowl. There's no doubt, especially now in the Benz Stadium. It's a great bowl, but it's certainly not where they want to be ultimately when it comes down to an 11-1 season so far, 12-1 season if they get to that point.
Not the national championship.
Right.
So the Capital One Orange Bowl is on New Year's Eve, the Fiesta Bowl in Arizona, and then the Cotton Bowl are the other 4 major bowls. So the rest of the teams who don't make the top 4, that's what they'll be shooting at. And the committee should have a fairly easy decisions unless the wheels fall off for Clemson and Oklahoma. Really, it's going to be fairly easy for them to choose the SEC winner. So you've got the ACC, you've got the Big 12, you've got the SEC represented, and it's that bubble team where you're going to have – and the whole question always comes up, are you going to have 2 SEC teams in? That's the scenario of possibly having 2 SEC teams in.
it's going to be tough on
the
them.
Big Ten. So it's kind of a 50-50 between Ohio State. If Ohio State goes in and dominates Wisconsin, you've got a 2-loss team in Auburn who just went through the slate. Ohio State is 10-2, so you can make the argument that, hey, Ohio State won their championship. So then what you would have is 4 Power 5 conference championships playing in the 4. So
which is ultimately what they're looking for, I guess. But we'll see, right? We're going to have to see how it all works out next weekend. That's or this
Dogs
upcoming weekend.
Need to put it on Auburn.
That is the bottom line, and we need to get to that, Taco. We need to come up with some ideas. You want to make a prediction, or you want to lay off a prediction for this weekend?
Here's the idea that I want to give you that Coach Malzahn said in the game, the post game afterward. We beat the crap out of them, didn't we? Remember that? I want to see that bulletin board. But I'm still going with the Dogs, and I am going to predict a 27-24 victory for the Dogs at the Mercedes Stadium. I think the Dogs can pull it out.
Okay, I agree. It may come down to a field goal. That's for certain. Whether it's an early field goal or right at the end, I think it could come right down to the very end. A field goal with a couple of seconds, a couple of ticks on the clock remaining. Hopefully, it will be the Bulldogs. I believe it will be. I'm going to come up with I'm going to go 34-31 for the Bulldogs to come up with the SEC championship to go to that. So
hard to beat a team twice in the same year.
That it is. I think it will be a battle. It's going to be a gladiator fight as much as football can be. And I think it's going to be an exciting weekend. It's going to be followed up by later in that week. You have the decision by the committee.
The third.
Right. And then on a couple of days later after that, you have hosted in Georgia at the Hall of Fame, the Football Hall of Fame. You have all the awards for the year being handed out. Of course, Roquan Smith is up and eligible for one of those defensive awards, so I'd love to see him down there as well. So, folks, come on down to make sure you go support your Bulldogs and go down to the College Football Hall of Fame for that event. It's going to be a great event on the carpet. A red carpet as well as
inside. In Atlanta.
Everything's happening in Atlanta.
College football happens here.
Hey, this is Mecca. This is the central area. We are the SEC area, and this is where football lives, is the bottom line. And that's why we love this time of year. That's why we love to be a part of the Georgia Bulldog Nation and the excitement that Kirby Smart has brought to this team and to the Bulldog Nation is great to look forward to for many years to come. Obviously, with all the recruits that are coming in, this appears to be something that he can hopefully maintain and keep a high level of football and a high level of winning and reoccurring visits to the SEC championship, not taking and not being the last winner being some 2008 a 9-year difference is not what the SEC East needs from the Georgia Bulldogs to take that time off from being the SEC champions. So with that being said, let's wrap it up for this week on DawgDial. Let's remember that the executive producer of DawgDial is John Rawl. Thank you to John. My co-host, thank you, Taco Thompson. Special thanks to our folks here at Buffalo's Cafe. I'm Josh Mendlinger. Thank you for listening. DawgDial is a production of CRM Sports. For more info, visit crmsports.com. And like we like to say, go Dogs.